All right, guys, here we are, Justin with California Grenadiers again. Had that project I was working on over the weekend. Lots of projects, it seems like, over the last few months, but been prepping for Overland Expo West to be displayed in the Trail Racks booth. But as you guys know, if you've been following along, I did a few videos on the Come Up Winch and GP Factor Winch Carrier, as well as the Bull Bar. So this is the finished project, finished product, I guess, that's also going to be on display out there. But kind of wanted to give a little overview of it. I did kind of break it down in steps in the previous videos with the, just the winch, just the winch carrier, with the winch carrier and the winch installed together. And I did like a brief little write-up on Facebook for some tips and tricks, but I'll try to go over some of that here, but just kind of wanted to give you guys a run around and kind of a overview of what this whole setup looks like, what it took and everything. Let's kind of just take a gander here. I will say I very much like the new look. I like it both with the Bull Bar and without, but I think the Bull Bar gives it a little extra toughness, ruggedness, I guess. Definitely like it better than the factory Bull Bar and any of the other Bull Bars that are out on the market for that matter. Just the shape, the size, I think it fits well. There's some other ones that have some funky shapes to them, kind of oversized and stuff. Not really a fan of that overly in your face kind of look. I kind of like a cleaner, simple look when it comes to modifications. I do like modifications, but it's just got to be clean and done right. As you guys can tell, kind of my look from the Shelby, I mean, it's got to be on purpose, I don't want it to look like an afterthought, and I think AJ over at GP Factor did an amazing job on the finished product on this. I mean, this looks great. I mean, it's really cool how it goes together. We're talking about the Bull Bar here, but it's pretty thick. The material is really solid. It's zinc coated, then powder coated, so it's very corrosion resistant. Sorry. And if you can see here, this portion is separate from this portion, the uprights, this centerpiece. It's all separate. If you look closely, it's cool because it's like notched and cut over here to match the size and the cutout of the standoff or upright or whatever you want to call it. Might be able to see it better over here. It's the lighting. So it's welded to this plate. The outer piece is welded to this plate. That plate just keys into there perfectly. Same as the centerpiece. So this thing can really only go together one way. So folks that are struggling with that, I don't know what to say. Maybe pay someone to install it if that's a hard thing, because this thing went together so easy. I think even a caveman can do it, so Geico reference. And the way everything bolts in, I mean, it bolts in the same factory spots. There's another bolt here. And these 4 bolts are the factory bumper mounts, and there's those 2 down there underneath. I mean, it's a very clean install, but it's strong. Very simple, strong. Like, I mean, this thing ain't moving. I mean, the whole car's shaking, but not this thing. So people that have said like this is flimsy, this is lightweight, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you want a solid bar that's solid tube, that's probably going to bend easier because it's going to be very costly to do a high quality bar like that, like a chromoly bar. This is like the OD, the DOM is really high. I mean, all the specs are on GP Factor's website, but you can tell just how thick and beefy that is. I mean, it's thicker DOM than the rock sliders, and those are beefy. But this is aluminum, whereas those sliders are steel. So the thickness of this, even though it's lightweight, it's super strong. And I believe I think the standoffs are steel. So those are carrying the main bulk of the weight, strength, the load dispersion, I guess. But it just gives a really great tough look. I think it blends in well with the rest of the car, the aesthetic, the ethos, if you will. The one thing I will say about the install, a couple things I'll say. When you put all this together, put it together on the floor or on a table or whatever, but tighten it loosely so that all of this kind of can move around, so you can line up the holes down here, because you have to line up all these holes. Do that first. It's not that heavy. And you stick it on there, and you can kind of move with all of this loose as well. You can kind of shift this outer bumper skin around, this one too. You just kind of keep everything loose on the outside. That way these all line up easily. And once you get them all lined up and threaded in, then you can torque everything down. I would say torque these down first, torque the bumper down and everything, and then torque these down. That way it's all like sitting straight with the vehicle, how the vehicle kind of settles in, so you don't get like weird creaks and cracks and things like that. The other thing I'll say is that these two bolts, the current kit comes with 30mm bolts. They were a bit small to like grab onto the threads that are inside with the winch kit, because this kind of pushes it out a little bit. There's a little bit more material behind there because the winch carrier is pretty thick. So I think the next generation of these Bull bars will come with a 35 at least. I ran out and got a couple of 40mm. Those gave me a lot more purchase, and it made it easier to like thread those in. It threads into a nutsert that's pressed into the winch carrier, so you got to be careful that you don't strip those. So it can be kind of hard if the bolt is short. That's why I got the longer bolt. Also, what I tried before I did that was I tightened these ones down to kind of suck this metal plate in as far as it could to maybe catch more threads. I was able to catch a few threads with this, but I still didn't feel comfortable with the amount of purchase that had, so I went ahead and got the 40mm. Now they're driven in there, they're solid. These ones were long enough. I felt they had at least like ½ an inch of capture, so I think that that's a good enough amount of purchase to give it a solid base. So that was kind of on both sides there. That was one of the main tips I would say, just keeping everything loose. Keep this loose, this stuff up here loose, and then after everything's tightened down, then you torque it down. Now kind of the winch. I mean, this is really the meat and the potatoes of the whole thing. This is the whole reason why I wanted this, but man, in the previous videos, like I said, this thing is beefy. It's 1/4 inch steel, it's all gusseted, braced, laser cut, MIG welded. The tolerances on everything is like tight as tits. I mean, this thing is money. Here you can see, this is the like the cutout hole, so you can visualize and inspect your line, or reach in there and untangle things if you have to, because you don't want it like overlapping, cutting into itself, or overlapping too much where the roll is getting too thick and then it gets shredded on the internals. You don't want that. So this allows you to visualize. plug that back in when I rewound the winch. I did follow the winching procedures, like when you're doing your initial wrap of the winch line. So I did that. So here's the control, the remote attachment area. This is the power button, which is pretty cool that it's built in right there, and it gives you a warning sign, or a warning sound. It does like a couple of quick beeps and then like a solid long beep, and it turns red so that you know that it's on, and it's kind of like a warning like, hey, your winch is on, be careful, use caution, etc. There's the winch hook. It's really cool. It's flat, comes with this like rubberized section here to protect the fair lead when you fold it over and lay it flat. When you store these things, guys, you don't want to crank this down super hard. Just a little bit so it's snug is sufficient. You don't want the tension sitting on the drum and the motor, because that can cause some issues, maybe some binding, freezing, something like that, though not likely. This is the actuation or actuator lever for engagement, disengagement. This was an area where I think they may be fine-tuning this. AJ did mention this, that they may be making a new handle as a later iteration. But down here, you can probably see here, the spacer, this surround here, this black surround is a spacer. It goes around this whole thing to kind of fill the gap between the winch carrier and the bumper fascia. But there's these little tabs that you gotta squeeze the spacer, like washer retaining clip thing, because it has like the full big thick spacer and then this thinner one. This is slotted, and it's engaged with these little tabs. That's a bit of a process I think I talked about in the write-up. You got to take your time with that. I had to use a motivator and a screwdriver to kind of spread those tabs out, slide it on over, and then I motivated it back into place with the sledgehammer, but did it very slowly and carefully. It came out well. But as you can see, this tab protrudes a little bit, maybe like a 1/4 inch. And on this side, if you go to disengage that, imagine that that little tab was there. So that wasn't allowing that to engage. You could see where the scratch was where I first initially tried it. So what I did is I got a pry bar and bent that downwards using a sledgehammer and smoothed it out so that this could actually fully swing. Before it couldn't. Now it's fine, so it works, not a problem at all. But I would say if you're installing this kit, try to do this part, like when you bend it down while the bumper is off, while the bumper fascia is off. It would be a lot easier. I had to kind of like squeeze in there and like bang it into place so it looked clean. Easier job can be had of that if you do it while the fascia is off. What else? So yeah, here in the instructions you'll notice that there's this black plastic that expands the bottom of the grill. It's kind of where the grill attaches, and it's like a support bracket that attaches to the like inner grill. You do have to clearance that. So in the instructions it says to just like clearance up to here. Like you can clearance from here to here, I think it's about 11 inches. I just went ahead and clearance the whole thing so it just looked consistent. You don't have to do this side, I left that side alone. But as you can see the wires here. The wires back here, you do have to clearance that one because those wires are just like right there. The tolerance is super tight. Not a big deal, it's just plastic. And one of my favorite things to do is cut stuff off of brand new vehicles just for fun. But yeah, that was probably the most painful part in terms of feelings, I guess. But once you get over it, then you're like, oh yeah, I mean, you can't even tell that that was ever cut. it looks like it's supposed to be like that. What's nice about this up here is that you can still also see the rope, access the rope a little bit if you had to. So pretty useful too. Don't know what else much to say about this. It's actually a very straightforward install. It's just time consuming. There's a lot of factory bolts and things to take apart and to kind of fidget with to fit everything in. So really the bulk of it is taking everything apart and getting it back together. The tolerances on the factory stuff, the factory bolt holes and nuts and things are very, very, very tight. So you have to do everything very carefully and slowly, and everything has to be hand tight before you tighten everything down, or else you're stripping stuff, and that's gonna make a bad day. Unless you got taps and dies and you don't mind doing that kind of stuff, and you have the time, then yeah, it's not a problem. But learn from me, you know, try to do it right the first time. Take your time. One good thing was that I had bent this bumper section up. As you can see, I pushed it up against a rock here, and it bent the bumper up. I mean, these bumpers are like pretty flimsy. I mean, not flimsy compared to like a plastic bumper, but they will get damaged, you know. But it pushed the whole bumper up, the outer skin. Cool thing about that was that since I was taking it apart, I was able to straighten it back out. It's not that hard to straighten out the brackets inside, but it is time consuming to get it like lined up again straight. And it's kind of a pain in the ass to get all those bolts off. There's a certain order and process that you have to do it in, so that can be kind of frustrating. But yeah, the kit itself is not a difficult install if you're mechanically inclined, you know, and you got the right tools. It's just the time, and it takes patience, because if you try to rush through it, you're going to make a mistake and potentially damage something. And you know, we don't have that much part support for these vehicles yet. A lot of the parts and things like bolts and washers and nuts can be replaced with like common stuff at hardware stores, but who has time to like drop everything and go to the hardware store when you make a mistake, you know? So try to learn from my mistakes, or at least, you know, the mistakes I've made in the past on working on numerous Jeeps. Just try to take your time, do it right, do it slow, and it shouldn't be that bad. I actually found it very enjoyable, but I'm very impressed with the outcome. I think you guys will be too if you guys decide to go this route. It's definitely more bang for the buck over the factory winch. I think it's $5,000 or $6,000 option. I think this was maybe like $3,000, something like that. 3,500, I'm not sure exactly. But you definitely get more line. You get a kind of a neater install, I think, like a pretty cool look and feature. Very different. I mean, you could argue that the red winch is better, but you're only getting like 35 feet of rope. I don't know if that's better, you know, maybe the winch itself is better, but I need something I can use, not something that looks better on paper. So definitely more affordable, definitely more bang for your buck. So check it out. There's lots of other options out there too, but this is probably the cleanest option out there thus far, and I think it will be for a long time. No expense was spared in the engineering and development of this product, and you can tell when you get your hands on it and you see it in person, you're like, wow. And I mean, that goes for the winch carrier and for the Bull Bar. I mean, both these things together, like, this is a front end. This is a serious front end. You got both protection and emergency capability and recovery capability, and this thing does the job. So let me know what you guys think. We're going to be out at Overland Expo West in Flagstaff, Arizona, this coming weekend. So if you guys are in the area, want to check it out or want to chat, chop it up, talk shop, come by the Trail Racks booth. Come check out the GP Factor winch carrier, the come up winch, and the Bull Bar, and let me know what you guys think, what your thoughts are on it. I'd love to see you guys out there, so please, if you're out there, swing by and say hi. Thanks for watching, guys.